And no one really ever stopped and asked me if I was okay. And I think that was a big part of the burnout for me was I was continuously showing up. I was continuously doing everything that I could. However, no one was really noticing my worth. Welcome back to Professional AF, the podcast, where we're redefining culture and leadership in a modern workplace. I'm Stephanie Potter, and today we're going to discuss the lie that has been running rampant in corporate America for way too long. The lie that burnout is a badge of honor. We've all been taught to glorify exhaustion and wear it like the Olympic gold medal. Look like we have it all together, but really we're just falling apart inside. We've been taught that that's the definition of professionalism. Spoiler alert, it is absolutely not. In this episode, we're going to talk about what it really costs to pretending like you have it all together, literally dollars and cents. I'll share my personal burnout story and recovery and show you how setting boundaries is one of the most powerful leadership moves you can make. Let me start with the truth bomb. There is no trophy for self-destruction. But for decades, the corporate world has taught us otherwise. We've been conditioned to think the longer hours you work, you have better work ethic. The more emails you send at night mean you're more committed. And the less time you spend with your family means you're more serious about your career. It's bullshit. Absolute bullshit. And yet so many of us, including me, bought into it because we thought that's what professionalism meant. Showing up no matter what, pushing through. And the truth is, the emotional consequences are not the only consequences of burnout. Research from the National Library of Medicine shows burnout can damage your memory and it can increase anxiety and depression. And it even leads you to quit your job or sometimes worse. Organizations are also feeling the fallout. Absenteeism, low productivity, low job satisfaction, and really just poor performance all around. And according to these studies, it is hitting women harder. And the mental health cost is real. Having to pay for therapists and doctor visits is definitely costing you money. But also, employers are going to feel the burden as well. According to a Gallup study, the average cost of employee turnover is anywhere from 50 to 200% of that person's annual salary. So take what you're paying them in a year, double it, triple it. It's costing you so much more than you realize as an employer. And that number doesn't even include the cost of productivity, the cost of the institutional knowledge that that person has brought to the organization, and overall your team morale. I want to get personal. There was a time in my career when I was doing everything to prove myself. I was taking on projects that weren't mine. I was staying late. I was saying yes to everything. I was skipping meals. I was skipping workouts. I was skipping sleep. And on the outside, I looked put together. I was going to work every day with my hair fixed and makeup on. But really on the inside, I was just a mess. And no one really ever stopped and asked me if I was okay. And I think that was a big part of the burnout for me was I was continuously showing up. I was continuously doing everything that I could. However, no one was really noticing my worth. I was falling apart and I didn't have a life vest. And then it really hit me hard. I started having panic attacks. My relationships started suffering. I was missing important moments with my family. And I started to mask these unhealthy feelings with other unhealthy habits: caffeine, sarcasm, alcohol, and staying busy just to avoid feeling. But good old me kept going. I just kept pushing along. I thought if I worked harder, that someone would finally notice my worth. But then comes the fallout. The breakdown came, The doctor's visits came, the therapist sessions came. And after all of that, I walked away with a clinical diagnosis of PTSD, anxiety, and depression. And all of these things came from staying in a toxic environment for way too long, expecting and waiting on someone else to see and value my worth. And let me tell you, those scars don't heal overnight. It is a continuous, constant battle. Because burnout doesn't end the day that you quit. You carry that shit with you. You take it to your next job. You take it to every relationship you will have moving forward. You will fear other leaders because of what you've seen and what you've experienced in the past. And really, it's unfair, but it's real. This is what really happens when we hit burnout to the point that I did. And that's the cost of pretending like we have it all together. It's not just exhaustion. It's your health, it's your happiness, and it's your identity. And I'm not the only one that's experienced this. I'm just speaking out my personal experience with burnout. According to a 2023 study by the American Psychological Association, 22% of Americans working in an in-person environment would describe their work culture as toxic. 18% for hybrid workers, and even 13% of remote employees report of a toxic work culture. So why do we keep doing this to ourselves? Because burnout has been sold to us as a proof of self-worth. We've been trained to think that if we're tired enough, if we overwork enough, if we're stressed enough, it must mean we're valuable. But the truth is, the people who survive the hustle culture are often the most broken. They have learned to ignore every signal in their body telling them that they need help. And leaders, if you're listening, this is where you take responsibility. If someone's afraid to take the day off, or someone is working past their scheduled time, or someone is afraid to say no, you have to realize that's not professionalism. That's a trauma response. Now let's flip the script. Boundaries aren't a weakness. They are leadership. Let's think about it. What do healthy leaders do? They protect their energy. They prioritize what matters. They model the behavior to let their employees know that it's okay to reset and recharge. And boundaries aren't barriers, they're blueprints. They're designed to help people understand what you're willing to accept and not accept. When you say no to a project that doesn't align with your priorities, it means you're saying yes to things that really matter. When you log off to spend time with your family, it shows your team that family matters. When you refuse to be on 24/7, you're proving that leadership isn't always about being available. It's about being effective when you are available. I had to learn the hard way. I was a 24/7 person. I was answering emails at any time of day or night. I was always jumping in. And guess what? People took advantage. I was exhausted. I was resentful. And ultimately, I was replaceable. When I finally set boundaries, my leadership really shifted. I saw a huge shift in my team. Not only was my team starting to create their own boundaries and really start to think for themselves, they were getting a better version of me. They were getting a clearer, more creative, more focused version of me. Boundaries don't make you less professional or less of a leader. Boundaries make you powerful. So here's a call to action. This is what we all need to do to help us set boundaries. Identify a boundary that you need to set at work. It could be, not answering emails after 7 p.m. It could be actually taking your lunch break. And heck, maybe it's coming off a project that you really don't have to be involved in. Once you define that boundary, communicate that boundary clearly to your team and to your leader. No apologies, no excuses, just clarity. And stick to these boundaries and really notice how people respond. Most people are going to respect your boundaries. Most people might even start creating boundaries of their own. If you sense hesitation or backlash, you're in a toxic environment and you need to rethink your current career. And I promise you, when you lead with boundaries, you don't lose credibility, you gain it, at least with the right people. Because burnout doesn't make you more professional, boundaries do. Thank you all for tuning in to episode 2 of Professional AF. This was a difficult day for me to get through and talk through some of the serious things that have impacted my life because of burnout. And we burned the lie that burnout is a badge of honor. If this episode hit home, please share it with someone teetering on the edge of burnout. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Until then, stay bold, stay authentic, and stay professional AF. Burnout is a mental health issue. If you are struggling with a mental health issue or in a crisis, please contact the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988 or seek support from a medical or mental health professional near you.